Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the February 2nd regular meeting of Nanaimo City Council. I'd like to first recognize that we are gathered on the traditional territory of the Snuneymuxw First Nation. Our clerk tonight will be Ms. Nicolina Verkar. We also have attending electronically Councillor Eastmere, and I believe Councillor Thorpe is going to try and engage electronically as well. Tonight's regular meeting of Council is being held in accordance with the Community Charter and Council Procedure Bylaw 2018, number 7272. If during the course of the meeting any member of the gallery has a question regarding an agenda item, please write down your name and the agenda item on the question period sign-up sheet, which is on the table by the double doors to my left. And please note that the Council Procedure Bylaw states that questions will only be taken on staff reports, consent items, or other business items. I do have a spiel that I can read out about decorum, but looking around the audience tonight, I think most of you are fairly regular attendants, and so I'm going to show my respect for you by not admonishing you how to be good and well behaved in a public place. Having said that, the introduction of late items is the first item. Ms. Verkar, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. For introduction of the late items, we have removing agenda item 11C, delegation from Holden southward. Removing agenda item 12B, community program development grant for the Nanaimo Vira Tibetan Buddhist Society. Agenda item 13C, development variance permit application number DVP 490-4834 Shorecliff Point, adding delegation from Robert Aree. And at last, removing agenda item 13D, development permit application number DP 1386-2240 Northfield Road. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Motion for adoption of the agenda is amended. Moved Councillor Perino, seconded Councillor Manley. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Motion for adoption of the minutes is circulated. Moved Councillor Manley, seconded Councillor Perino. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Mayor's report. I have a few items tonight. Firstly, the city is seeking input on tenant relocation and compensation requirements. The rental tenant relocation assistance project aims to create a policy and a regulatory framework that provides meaningful support for tenants at risk of eviction when rental buildings with 4 or more units are being redeveloped. Nanaimo has approximately 108 purpose-built rental apartment buildings with 4,200 units, many of which were built in the 60s and 70s. So we're looking for feedback from the general public, particularly renters, obviously. In addition, happy to announce that the City of Nanaimo unveiled the Wind Phone art installation in Bowen Road Cemetery. Created by Nanaimo-based artist Mauro Dalla Costa, now permanently installed at the cemetery, it offers a quiet, symbolic space for reflection, remembrance, and connection for those experiencing grief and loss. Her work, entitled Waves, is carved from teakwood and features rippling textures inspired by the movement created by a single drop of water. At the center of the piece, the phone becomes the origin point of the wave, serving as a powerful metaphor for how every word spoken continues to resonate outward. That is an addition to our public art, which is interesting, and similar ones are installed in many places around the world and will provide a private place for contemplation for people visiting the cemetery. We're also accepting environmental grant applications. Local organizations, groups, individuals looking to take on environmental projects in Nanaimo may be eligible to access funding from the city. Applications for the Community Watershed Restoration and the Community Environmental Sustainability Project grants opened on January 30th, I should say. They provide grants up to $20,000 in funds to community organizations, environmental nonprofits, and individual residents who aim to carry out watershed restoration projects that focus on urban stream and riparian restoration enhancement and natural environmental protection. And also, on Family Day this year, Monday, February 26th, we're going to be celebrating the 50th anniversary of Bevan Park. We're planning a series of free activities to celebrate both Family Day and the 50 years of Bevan Park as part of the community. From 10 a.m. to 2:30 p.m., the day will consist of a number of free activities as indicated, including welcome skating, stick and puck skating, live entertainment, taiko drumming, inflatables, games, arts, crafts, face painting, photo booth, food trucks and concessions, activities at the Bevan Learning Centers, activities with the Boys and Girls Club of Vancouver Island at the old Bevan Mansion, the Vancouver Island Exhibition Train, Island Roots Market, Story Time with Miss Lynn, you have to pre-register, pitch and putt, science exploration, and walking a luminous path. For those of you who aren't aware, the city purchased Bevan in 1953 when it was not part of the city of Nanaimo. I give full credit to the council of the day having the foresight to have done that. It was formally transferred to the regional district in 1973, interestingly, and then in 1991 the city assumed ownership of the park and facilities. Frank Crane opened on January the 2nd, 76. The Cliff McNabb Arena opened on October 1st, 1994. The Lions Pavilion Clubhouse, July 24th, 2002, followed by a number of other additions. And for those of you old enough to remember, maybe you went there to the Grandview Bowl when it was stock car racing back in my youth. It was great fun. I'm sorry none of you were there to enjoy it with me. Having said that, that's the Mayor's report. We have nothing to rise and report on, Mr. Carr. Delighted tonight to welcome the interim president, Vice Chancellor of Vancouver Island University. I want to say to Dr. Johnson, Dennis Johnson, as he approaches the podium and the mic, I think everyone in this community appreciates the challenge you have taken on in very challenging times for the post-secondary education system in this province. And in particular for our university, which is the way the citizens of this community think about it. We're very proud of what it's done for our city and delighted to welcome you here tonight to provide a presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm assuming this has something to do with advancing the slides, perhaps? Green button. Great. Well, so thank you again for this time to update on what's happening at VIU. As you're all, I'm sure, painfully aware, it's been a tough couple of years. And I was asked to join, come out of semi-retirement, I guess, to try and help VIU find its way back to the institution it needs to be. The good news is the work started long before I showed up. There was some difficult decisions made, which many people are aware over the last couple of years, but that has started to make a difference. So I'll launch into my presentation. So really everything about higher education has been turned upside down in the last little while. What started, of course, is finances, and I'll touch on that in a minute. But what the larger context is that the province is concerned enough that they have started a system-wide sustainability review. The terms of reference of this provincial review are readily available if you haven't seen them. And really, it's about a system that the current government feels they can no longer afford without some change. So that's going on even as we continue to do work at VIU independent of whatever the reviewer comes up with. That work is underway right now. I've had an opportunity to provide input. The reviewer is doing lots of public consultation right now, but perhaps not as much as some people would like. And the final report is due in the spring. So some just trends that are impacting the sector and VIU is that domestic enrollment demographics have been against the sector for a while, and VIU is no exception. Domestic enrollment is forecasted to drop about 2% per year, and it has been dropping at VIU for a while. We're significantly down from the peak enrollment of just a few years ago. And that impacts, of course, everything that we do at the institution in terms of, the viability of our food services, our bookstore, the classes have fewer students, that sort of thing. What's happening right now is students are staying closer to home. There's concern about the cost of living going away for school. And housing and affordability are major decisions in any young person's decision basket as they decide whether to come to somewhere like VIU if they live away, or whether they decide to stay and study at VIU if they live here. The other factor is it's a super competitive market. And as the larger, more well-known institutions are concerned for their enrollment, they simply change the rules a little bit and make sure their classes remain full. Of course, everybody's painfully aware of what's going on with international students. The federal policy change has and will continue to impact all of post-secondary in Canada, and VIU has not been immune to that. We expect that numbers will continue to drop for another year, at which point we hope to sort of hit the bottom and start to work on a recovery. But the levers around international are firmly in the federal government's hands. So we, continue to be many voices that are lobbying for change, but right now we haven't seen anything. So what we're trying to do to get VIU back on the right track is look at things like a stronger alignment to workforce and a greater sensitivity to housing and cost. The workforce outcomes is certainly something that government has been talking about a lot, and I think will be part of that review. So what we've been doing is a lot of tough and painful decisions. There have been program reductions. We are trying to align our workforce with the enrollment reality, which has meant that we've reduced our workforce by about 200 in the last 2 and a bit years since 2023. But at the same time, we are trying very hard to come back from what was a really tough situation. And I won't recap the reality, but just a few months ago when I joined, our financial position was dire, and I used that word a fair bit. We were really looking at some possible consequences that were just unacceptable. Too many years of deficit budgets and using up reserves. And so I'm happy to say we are making progress. It's too early to celebrate. Don't have any big announcements, but I can tell you that we have improved our financial situation. And at the same time, of course, government is paying lots of attention to our financial picture, and we are working closely with them. So we're actively reviewing program viability. We are really focusing on student accessibility, success, and completion. When students, even if they start at VIU, if they don't stay, that's bad for all parts of the organization. We've tried to increase the amount of student awards that directly impact a student's decision to either come to VIU or stay in school and complete at VIU. And we're looking at all aspects of our policy and our processes to try to help with retention at the same time that we're trying to market VIU locally and outside the region. Strangely enough, we do get a number of students that come from various pockets across Canada, and so we are always happy to see those students come and study, and will help make up some of the shortfall of international students. So most people will be aware that there's a tower going up on campus. It's currently on schedule. It will provide 266 new beds, and it's a model that we think will appeal to the students that are just leaving home perhaps for the first time. It's a model where the food will be provided. It's a cafeteria style, we're looking at policies that will take advantage of that to make sure that that facility stays full. And hopefully will help again with not just recruitment, but also provide a good place to study and help with retention and student success. And of course, we know, we're very aware of our need to make VIU sustainable. It's critical to Nanaimo and the regional area. We are really wanting to start to get VIU more engaged with all of the things that it should be engaged in, sort of hanging out the open for business sign. We really need to get the activity up the hill going, and that means over the next few years, our partnership, the things that we're engaged in, we really need to be seen as that valuable partner, and I know we are, but we need to expand on that and grow that. So what are we asking? Well, just support, and I will say the community has been pretty supportive to date. There's been some difficult decisions that not everybody agrees with, but one of the things I said when I came is VIU has seen enough negative news cycle, enough negative media. We need to sort of try to talk about what's good about VIU and the region and try to not be on national news for our problems. And so far, I'm happy to say that everybody in our community has been really good about that. If there's concerns, we talk about them internally and don't so much run to the media or go on social media. And so that's all we're really asking is community support as we do what we need to do to get VIU strong and healthy again. And closing comments, as everybody knows, students are our future workforce in the region, and VIU wants to be a partner with all stakeholders that have the concerns of the region at heart. Thank you.
Thank you very much. A few questions, if you will, please. Councillors Armstrong, Manley, and Perino in that order.
Thank you very much, Your Worship, and through you. First of all, I just wanted to extend what a great job they did on the injured worker the other day, and I hope he recovers following that. My question is I have two. One, VIU's been really well known for the trades and the great job they're doing. Are you still continuing those programs and really actively looking for people to come here?
Sorry, can you just repeat the
trades program.
The trades program?
Yeah.
Sorry, with my hearing aids, I'm having trouble with the speakers.
Yeah, it's bad in here, yes.
Yeah, the trades are, I'm happy to say, solid, and we'll continue to support them. They're a critical part of the area. And we did receive a little bit of good news from government. There was a big announcement a while ago that they are finally going to adjust the amount of funding that they provide to trades. Trades have been difficult for most institutions in that we all run them at a loss. But hopefully those days are over, and that will help the overall picture at VIU.
Let's hope so, since they're so sadly needed. And then my second question is, as a person, I've got 3 nieces in universities all across the country, and one of their largest costs isn't so much the housing, it's the meal plans. Are you looking at that in consultation with the student body?
Yeah, there's a lot of work being done on the meal plans to try to make sure that they're affordable and healthy. We don't open yet until 2027, so we have people working on that even as we speak, because being able to announce the actual cost, but we do believe we'll be competitive and attractive.
Thank you very much, and thank you for stepping up to take on a role in such difficult times.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Manley, please.
Thank you, and thank you for your presentation. Like the mayor, we're both alumni from VIU Malaspina days. It's great to see the residents going in. I've been to conferences at universities across Canada, and I'm wondering if that's part of the plan with the new residents to utilize that in the summertime as a conference facility. I know I'm not too worried about competition here because we're starting to fill this space a lot more. But I'm just curious if that's part of the plan going forward.
Yeah, everything is on the table, and you know, many people have heard me say over and over again, we can't cut ourselves to sustainability. We really need to grow activity, and we need to be a 12-month-a-year operation. So even this past summer, we had some people thinking ahead, and we hosted 3 different youth groups on campus. We utilized the facilities, the residences, the cafeteria, and provided a great experience. So we're looking to build on that model. I don't think I have to tell anybody in the room that Nanaimo's a pretty great place to spend part of your summer.
Yep.
So we think we can capitalize on that and take advantage of a campus that's otherwise pretty quiet during those months.
Great. Well, the university's it's been a great asset to this community and to the Mid-Island region. So I wish you all the success in getting it going as forward as fast as you can. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Perino, please.
Thank you, Your Worship, and Dr. Johnson. There are few people that would have taken on the job that you did, so thank you so much for being here in Nanaimo and to share this experience with us tonight. The question that I have for you is, I was a bit surprised when I first came here to see that there weren't more programs for what I would term as more mature adults. So really, you know, your career lasts until you're 65, 75. Not as many programs available for that sector of the community, and I just wondered if you're hoping to build that area.
Yeah, the short answer is in any sort of sustainability plan, increasing the size of the pie is part of that. We are still pretty much a traditional model that caters more to a traditional student.
Yes.
And so, you know, some of these things take more time than others, but we've started conversations with the deans and the academic leadership to say, how do we broaden our appeal to mid-career professionals, mature learners that maybe didn't finish their degree way back when, and all of those things. But it also is, you know, keeping programs relevant, and that work is also underway to make sure that what we're offering is again aligned to the workforce.
Sounds good. Good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Himmons, please.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Dr. Johnson, for being here. I have a son who's at Barsby in grade 12, and he's doing the Bridge to VIU program. He started in January and is having an exceptional time, so thank you. Great programming. 2 questions. The system-wide sustainability review that is due in the spring, what are some realistic expectations we can have of those recommendations?
From the provincial review?
If you can comment, I recognize the side.
Yeah, I really can only refer to what is publicly available in the terms of reference and what comments that have been made publicly. The government is very concerned, and they've been very open about that the cost of the sector, now that the international student subsidy, because that's really what it was, is declining rapidly. You know, the Premier is on record of saying we can't bail out the system. So they're definitely looking to find efficiencies, cost savings, and how they'll do that, you know, I really can't speculate. That type of thing has been talked about in a lot of jurisdictions for decades. And so I really hope that they find some things. The message I've been giving, just so everybody knows, and I'm happy to be on record, is to say that despite the public comments and speculation about, you know, radical change or mergers or whatever, I don't believe it'll be necessary at BIU. I think we're distinct enough, we're far enough away from other institutions that we can be just fine as a standalone university the way it is now. I do admit, though, that we need to live within our means, and so that's job one. And I hope if we can do that, then government will say we'll turn our attentions to somewhere else.
Okay, thank you for that bit of an unfair question. I appreciated the response, though. Um, Lastly, you noted in terms of specific support from the city, alignment on housing for students. Can you elaborate on that, please? Are there opportunities that we're missing right now for student housing?
I think it's more just a future-focused conversation. I think the city supports things like, good transit to the campus, and as we look to make VIU and the campus on the hill even more attractive, it'll just be future conversations that enhances that student life. Anything we can do to get that campus vibrant again is what we're going to try and do.
Great, thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Dr. Johnson and Mr. Horbaczewski, thank you so much for coming out tonight. It is appreciated, as can't emphasize enough, and Councillor Manley pointed out, a few of us have attended that, or most members of our family, and the university changed this city in so many positive ways, and it is a far better community because of the university. So the fact that you've come here to try and give it the strength to survive and to prosper is very important to all of us, so thank you.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
All right, we have committee meeting minutes just for receipt. I'd ask for a motion for adoption of the consent items. Moved Councillor Perino, seconded Councillor Manley. Nobody wants anything pulled out. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. Motion carries. We now are on to delegations unrelated to agenda items, and the first is Carolyn Manuel, Director of Donor Services and Community Engagement, and read the Nanaimo Foundation's 2025 Vital Signs Report. I was going to say, it doesn't look like Carolyn Manuel to me. I may be wrong, of course, but that's a very impressive looking group of heavy hitters you've got behind you, too.
Your Worship, Mayor Krog, and councillors, thank you so much for having us today. We're your community foundation, the Nanaimo Foundation, and we're one of 208 community foundations across Canada. From coast to coast to coast, community foundations work in 3 core areas. First, we steward and grow community assets forever. Second, we support charitable activities through grant making. And third, we try to provide leadership, community leadership, and convening powers around topics that will make the community better. For those that don't know me, I'm Tracy Brown. I'm the CEO of the Nanaimo Foundation. I'm joined here today by the chair of our board, Mike Delves, our treasurer, sorry, they came up behind me, our treasurer, Candace Wickenkamp, and board members, Dave Whitty and Doug Brockwell. I'm also joined by my Director of Philanthropic Partnerships, Carolyn Manuel. At the Nanaimo Foundation, we strive to ground our work in community data. That's why this report is so important to us. We look at it to guide and prioritize our work in the community. It's a checkup, a community checkup, and a point in time for our community that we can ground ourselves in. Between 2022 and 2024, 1,500 newcomers arrived in Nanaimo from other countries. The survey data shows more than half of the newcomers feel at home within their first year, while another 1/3 do not feel a sense of belonging. 23% of the respondents also reported experiencing discrimination because of their skin color or language skills. Children and youth make up a significant portion of our population, 1 in 5 residents. The data shows gaps in childcare availability, particularly for infants and toddlers, as well as higher developmental vulnerability in early years compared to the provincial average. About 1/3 of children are starting school already at risk in at least one of their development areas. This is more specifics around child childcare spaces. And we have some more data on the adolescent focus. Nanaimo Foundation recognizes the complexity of housing challenges in Nanaimo is not unique to us. And these challenges can only be addressed through collaboration with the provincial and federal governments, BC Housing, and other stakeholders. Having said that, and as many of us here today heard in the 2026 Industry Outlook a couple of weeks ago, housing affordability remains a persistent issue, and without strategic intervention, the pressures in our community are likely to intensify. Housing affordability affects both owners and renters. It's also tied to affordability, income and food insecurity, which is highlighted throughout the Vital Signs report. This slide brings together a little bit of information on that, including that Nanaimo's living wage is $23.79. And the difference between our living wage and the minimum wage is over $6. We have issues around child poverty rates in Nanaimo, as well as Ladysmith and on Gabriola, another area that we're focused on. And of course, the food banks are very busy. Food security in young residents, youth skipping meals, and youth that went to bed hungry.
1 minute left.
Aha, great timing.
I didn't want to cut you off.
As the Community Foundation, we work together in partnership with the city, with nonprofit stakeholders and organizations and other local partners to support a shared understanding and coordination. We hope that together, the community can work on our problems to tackle them in a productive way. And the Vital Signs is one of those contributions. It can ground us in those conversations and hopefully move the dial in a productive manner. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. Some folks may have some questions. Councillor Hemmons, then Councillor Perino, please.
Thank you, Worship, and thank you all for being here tonight. Appreciate the work of Nanaimo Foundation and particularly appreciate the Vital Signs report every year. Lots of great data. I'm wondering if you can show me a trajectory in terms of, child poverty. Are we going in the right direction? Are we losing ground? How did it compare to last year's? How did it compare to 5 years ago? Do you have those figures available?
Yeah, I don't have those figures with me. I can certainly give them to you. I would say that it hasn't changed a lot since the 2023 report. That report also highlighted some difficulties in that area. I think, where we're worried most is with youth and seniors in our community and how the affordability crisis is affecting those two demographics.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Perino, please.
Thank you for being here. I'm so impressed that your board members see that this is important enough to be here as well, so thank you. The question that I have for you is, predominantly with community foundations, they give approximately 4% of their earnings back to the community. Is that approximately the level that you give here?
Well, it's about 5% now.
Okay.
Most foundations give out 5% of their assets.
Okay.
And so included in that, we pay for initiatives as well as grant out. Another thing that we do is we have donor advised funds, and with those funds, our donors give out 5% of their endowments if their funds are endowed, or they have flow-through funds where they can just give out through the Nanaimo Foundation. And with that portfolio, we really try to encourage our donors to get their funds out quickly and to engage in the community in a meaningful manner.
Good.
And so we make it easy for them. They'll say, oh, we're interested in youth, and then we'll give them a primer on all the charities that are working in that area. or they're interested in food security, we'll do that research for them and then provide it to the donor.
Okay, so the only thing that you need is actually more donations, right?
More fund holders.
You got it. Okay, good, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Manley, please.
Thank you, and through you, I know it's a quick little presentation, 5 minutes. The youth section you glossed over caught my eye, and I'm just wondering if you can go back to that and just explain
The what?
the youth. There was a section on youth and their outlook.
Yeah.
In the presentation, and I'm just wondering if you can hop back to that one. Yeah, that one, the one where they're 18% feel no hope or little hope for the future.
Yes.
Felt lonely or often lonely, rated their mental health as good, like 55% rating their mental health as good, but it seems like there's a good portion of the population that's struggling with mental health in our youth. Is that kind
That's
of
accurate, yes, yes.
Okay.
And this data actually came from local organizations, and so it is work that was done locally.
And I guess one of the struggles they're finding is that youth are actually having, because it's not part of our health act, the health accord, mental health isn't paid for, so a lot of people living in poverty with kids struggling with mental health are having trouble accessing the help they need, or?
Well, I think it's that, anecdotally, I think it's that. I also think that, you know, with all our youth being on screens and not connecting in person as much as they used to, that's had negative consequences on their mental health. And, you know, the climate crisis and other factors, as well as affordability. And, you know, with our youth, they're watching the social media and they're expecting that that's what their lives should look like. And for many, they don't look at anything close to that. And so that disconnect is also affecting their mental health.
And did you see an uptick, or did the service agencies see an uptick in mental health challenges after the pandemic?
It's hard to say, but I can do a comparison from the 2023 data and provide you with some follow-up information.
Okay, it's every 2 years or every?
Yes, we do the vital signs every 2 years. For a community of our size, the data doesn't shift enough to do it every year, and it is, you know, a big endeavor for a small team.
Yeah, it's a big project, and I really appreciate the reports, and appreciate the board and staff coming up to support you on this. Thank you.
Great. We brought you each copies. Can we give you some copies?
Yeah,
Please.
I think we got them in our mailbox. Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Armstrong, then Councillor Gesselbrock.
Thank you. It's funny, when Aaron asked, or Councillor Hemmons asked that question, I was actually Googling it just for interest. 2018, it was at 22.9%. That was our child poverty rate. 2020, because of the pandemic, it dropped to 13.3 because of all the dollars available. And now 17. So it's interesting. But my question is, when we're looking at this, is there a way to break it down so that we know, like, from 5 and under, 5 to 10, like that type of thing? Because I think it'd be interesting to track, and Councillor Manley and I were meeting this last week on some mental health stuff, to track if that's where we're missing some of the keys. Like, when do they recognize that they need some mental health supports? Because we know they're not available in this community. Or if they are, you have to be quite wealthy, or you gotta wait a year, which
Yeah.
we all know is not helpful. So I'm just wondering if there's ways that can be used to help us with, in some of our research we're looking at, to try and work with, I believe it's MP Johns that is looking at trying to get mental health put into the Canadian Health Act, yeah, sorry. Which I think would then open up some more dollars. But I just think it'd be interesting if we could know, because adolescence, when you're looking at federal government, means up to 20-something, right? So I'd like to know if in future, if you could think about maybe breaking it down to ages, so we know what the ages are we're looking at.
We would definitely consider that. We're hoping to be able to do some primary data for the 2027 Vital Signs report, and that would enable us to drill down into ages. Though when you're working with youth and children, collecting that data is challenging.
Yeah, I appreciate that, but I just think if we could somehow get that, so we can actually really show the figures that, you know what, our big issue is from 8 to 12.
Yeah.
That's when they're really starting to struggle, which, you know, from my work when I was policing also showed that's when they start moving to
Yes.
street drugs, right? Because they need to self-medicate, or those that are on ADHD don't like the effects, so then they go to pot because it doesn't have the same impact. Like they function better. I think if we could break it down, like get some actual really good numbers to show that we need to start dealing with these youth between 8 to 12, and then they won't have the issues later in life. But thank you, I really appreciate
Yeah,
the
thank
report
you.
as usual.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
No more questions. Thank you very much
Thank
to all
you.
of you for coming tonight. Much appreciated, and much appreciated for the report and the work the foundation does.
Thank you.
The next is no stranger to hard work and no stranger to this council, Joanne Sales, Broombusters Invasive Plant Society, Reen Nanaimo Broombuster Volunteers in Wildfire Prevention. Ms. Sales, good evening, welcome.
Okay, well, good evening, Mayor and council members. I am Joanne Sales, and Executive Director of Broombusters Invasive Plant Society. 2026 is Broombusters' 20th anniversary. And in the 20 years that we've been working, we figured we have documented 75,000 hours of volunteers cutting broom. So we want to thank Nanaimo for its support since 2010, and we ask for support again for 2026. There's so many bad things I could say about Scotch broom. It's a serious threat to biodiversity, toxic to wildlife, negative impacts for food security, forestry, tourism, safety, and health. But right now, the most important thing about Scotch broom is it is so highly flammable. Okay, this is my job. Here we go. Scotch broom is a volatile flash fuel. It'll increase a wildfire's fuel load, escalate the fire's intensity, compromise fire situations, and make fires more difficult and dangerous to fight. Why is it so hazardous? Massive amounts of dry vegetation create increased fuel load. It grows 9 feet tall. It's a ladder fuel. Forms dense, widespread thickets, fuel continuity. Grows everywhere, contributing to urban interface fires, and high oil content makes it an easily ignition source. But I want to start by going south 1,500 kilometers to Santa Rosa, California, and surrounding counties. The Tubbs Fire. During the span of more than 23 days in October 2017, this wildfire consumed 36,807 acres, destroyed 5,643 homes and buildings, and resulted in the loss of 22 lives. And I'm going to sidetrack to a personal story. My now son-in-law, who we didn't know then, was in that fire. He was asleep at midnight when a firefighter pounded on the door and shouted, "You have minutes, get out right now." Rob rushed off the farm property in his pajamas, and the house burnt to ashes. When Rob first came to Vancouver Island in May of 2018, it was blooming season, and he learned what Scotch broom was. That Scotch broom, that was the plant that covered the fields where I lived in Santa Rosa. I didn't know it was flammable. Most people in Santa Rosa at that time did not know how flammable Scotch broom was, but they know now because now Santa Rosa and the areas are trying to rebuild. How can they do it safely? And that's what got my attention. This is a quote from the Santa Rosa Fire Marshal Paul Lowenthal, who lost his home in the fire. "The primary target of new Santa Rosa ordinance is Scotch broom, the perniciously invasive and highly flammable non-native shrub." Their exact ordinance is, it names Scotch broom as the non-native hazardous vegetation that must be removed if it's within 30 feet of a public right-of-way, 100 feet of a structure, or 30 feet of a property line. The reason why I think this is so important is these people, this community has been through the wildfire hell, and the main enemy that they have come up with is Scotch broom. But reality check, those ordinances will not pass here now. We know that. Time and budgets will not allow. But what can we do? That's what we want to look at now. But first, 2026 is Broombusters' 20th anniversary. In 2010, Judy Borsario of Nanaimo called Broombusters and said, "We want to cut broom here." So this is the picture of the first broom cut in 2010 and one of the first broom piles in Nanaimo. I'm so glad that we took some pictures. These are some more recent pictures. We have 3rd Street Park and E&M Trail. This was Park Road and the Nanaimo Parkway.
And 1 minute.
and VIU students cutting on Nanaimo Parkway in 2025, and international students cutting in 2024. So we want to thank Nanaimo for 16 years of support. How can Nanaimo encourage more volunteers? How can we make it easier for volunteers and landowners to dispose of broom? How can we make Nanaimo safer? So AVICC and UBCM passed the resolution control of Scotch broom in 2023, calling for fire breaks on long stretches of broom. Looking at the photo to the right, you see of the power lines covered with Scotch broom. We have not done anything about it yet. Can we do anything? There are specific actions and items that we would like to talk to staff about. I won't bring those up now, but we just appreciate so much Nanaimo's support and the wonderful volunteers that we have here. So.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. I must say, I appreciated the just previous slide. It said the world's gone crazy.
Oh, yeah, I didn't get time to say that, but
And what you do is practical and sensible and has a significant impact, and it builds community. I just want to say, before anyone has any questions, how much I think all of council and the city appreciates Broom Busters and what they do, and that 75,000 hour total is a pretty impressive statistic.
I was impressed too when I added it all up.
Any questions for the delegation? I don't think so. We know what you do and we appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. And the last delegation is Susan Ormiston, noise impacts from Waves Car Wash. Ms. Ormiston, good evening. If you can just introduce yourself for the record. You'll have 5 minutes, and when there's a minute left, I'll let you know.
Okay. Hi there, I'm Susan Ormiston, and I'm here on behalf of residents from Mountain Vista Drive. We are located behind the Waves Car Wash at 2300 Northfield Road. For years now, we've experienced severe reoccurring noise from the automatic dryer systems. They run 24/7, eroding sleep, health, and basic enjoyment of our homes. Here, I'll just get this going. As time is limited, I respectfully request if council would look back on my original emails I sent on January 19th, along with the reply from Mr. LaBerge and my response. It has a lot more detail on that as well. So the proximity of the dryers are positioned just over 10 meters from our property line. They face directly into our homes. In practical terms, the loudest part of each cycle projects straight towards our yards and back rooms. Noise doesn't recognize zoning or property boundaries, so even though this is a commercial zone, the impact crosses directly into a residential zone. For the measured noise, residents record sound levels at the property line that jump roughly 50 decibels to 86 decibels when the dryers start. So in less than 30 seconds, the spike can increase 36 decibels. So the difference is moving from a nice, calm, comfortable place environment to a loud, obtrusive, and potential hazardous noise level in a residential section. So basically, as a rule of thumb, every 10 decibel increase is perceived as twice as loud. So a jump from the 50 to the 86 is 36. So that basically you're looking at 8 to 12 times louder than what the original noise level was. So families are reporting they wake up through the night by sudden dryer blasts. Kids are startled, disoriented. We have older residents that are fatigued and stressed, and basically backyards go unused because conversations are drowned out whenever the dryer cycle starts. We have not been passive. We have planted rows of evergreens. We have reinforced fencing with double layers to close any gaps. We've continuously approached the owner to seek practical steps, sound barriers, added insulation, quiet hours from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. Despite these efforts, the disturbances persist. We're now looking at our homes and the market value. Realtors have confirmed that the noise is now directly impacting property values and marketability. They have told us that the noise is a deal breaker for many people. They cannot picture children playing in their yard when the sudden loud dryer cycles cut through. At least one family has been unable to sell directly because of this issue. So basically, what we're looking for the city is standard, reasonable municipal tools that help businesses and neighborhoods coexist. Install effective sound barriers or enclosures around the dryers to stop direct projection into homes, reorientate or modify operations so doors stay closed during the loudest phase, implement quiet hours for the automatic bays, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., commission a city-facilitated acoustic impact assessment to identify the most effective package and confirm those results. If mitigation cannot achieve a compatible level, we ask council to consider whether continued use of high-powered dryers in this orientation is appropriate next to homes. So basically, what it comes down to is every resident should be able to have the ability to sleep through the night, to use our backyards, to enjoy our homes in peace. We've made every effort to address this cooperatively and invest in our own mitigation, but voluntary measures have not resolved this. We're asking for your direction so that we can have some fixes that can finally move forward. We want to emphasize that we have no issue with the car wash itself. Our concern is solely with the dryer cycle. The addition of a second automatic bay in the last couple of years has intensified the problem. Instead of a single cycle, now we have two sets of overlapping dryer cycles, which can last in prolonged continuous use. If zoning creates a loophole that allows a 24/7 industrial-grade dryer to disrupt nearby homes indefinitely, then I hope the city will consider whether this reflects the intent of the noise bylaw, the spirit of reasonable land use planning, or the values of community.
Thank you very much. You say there was a second bay added a few years ago?
Yes.
And have you, either individually or as a group, approached the owners to talk about?
Multiple times.
Awesome.
Multiple times. As early, the latest was actually about a week and a half ago.
Any other
They have told us
questions?
that they can change all those bays, all the bays they have right now, they can change them into all automatic wash bays, and there'd be nothing we could do about it, was his response to us.
Thank you. Councillor Perino.
Wow. Thank you, Your Worship. They're open 24 hours a day, is that correct?
Correct.
They won't negotiate on that for you?
No.
I'm amazed people want to wash their cars at,
No, it's just basically, well, you get people doing it because it wakes us up every night. So you get
Yes.
someone at 1, someone at 3, someone at 5.
yeah.
Yeah.
Has it always been this way?
The one bay was there, and like I say, in the last 3 years now, they've added a second bay. So I moved here in 2021, and we've been dealing with it since then. I was transferred here for work, so
Yes.
my house was bought online.
Oh,
At that time, the market was so crazy that if you didn't buy immediately, you lost out in the house.
yes.
So we knew there was a car wash behind us, but we thought it was standard bays. We didn't know it was automatic. So,
I'm not sure people would know anyway, you know, that's one of
Yeah.
those, yeah.
yeah, we thought it would be a further, it's only 10 meters to our property line. And I think there should be, realistically, there should be a longer
Wow, okay.
amount between them.
Well, thank you for coming and bringing us up to speed on this one, because I remember your email and I thought, wow, that's,
It is, like right now, like I said, 2021, we've landscaped, done beautiful things to our yard. I think I spent 4 days in my backyard, and that's when they were doing maintenance, and they closed it down because they were building another drive-through area for their new car bay.
wow. I'll have questions for the staff. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other questions for the delegation? I'm not seeing any. Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
The next item is administrative reports, 12A. The first is Nanaimo Acute Response Table update. Ms. Bhopal Singh, please.
Good evening, Your Worship. While staff are coming to the podium here, this is a decision report before you and also an update on Nanaimo's Acute Response Table, which was formerly known as a situation table. It's one of about 37 across BC, with more coming. And one thing I might add is situation tables across the country are designed to intervene and mitigate at the midstream people who might fall into the state of needing emergency support services either at the hospital or through the RCMP. So this is an interesting pilot and pivot, and now something that the city has supported since 2021. And one thing I will say as a nod to Ms. Wood, Mr. LaBerge, and Ms. Sori, and also our RCMP member Dan Hopkins and his predecessors, is Nanaimo's situation table, or now known as the acute response table. They mentor others across BC and are known to be one of the more effective situation tables. And a lot of that is due to leadership. And you'll notice that since its inception, the number of people willing to participate and train and invest their time has increased. And essentially, we are doing the work of leveraging and supporting a lot of provincial and nonprofit agencies in order to support our community members. So with that, I'll turn over to Ms. Sori and Dan Hopkins. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Welcome to both of you. Appreciate you coming out tonight. We're in your hands.
Thank you very much, Mayor and Council. I'm very pleased to be here today to give you an update on the Nanaimo Acute Response Table and make a request as well, also known as the Situation Table. And then I do have my co-chair, one of my co-chairs, Dan Hopkins, the city's community policing coordinator, with me as well. Let's get going here. So just as a refresher, the Situation Table is a multi-agency team of frontline professionals that meet bi-weekly, and they address situations where individuals or families face a significant likelihood of harm if there's no intervention. So partners at the table will bring forward referrals to share limited personal information and work collaboratively to design and deliver immediate in-person interventions to connect them to services and supports as quickly as possible, ideally within 24 to 48 hours. There are 37 situation tables in the province right now, and each community has their own makeup of participating partners. You'll see the Nanaimo Acute Response Table has 25 partners listed here, with the 4 underlined ones being new to joining the table in 2025. We are a very active table, as mentioned, and it includes many frontline professionals from the health, housing, police, mental health and addictions, children family services, education, various outreach teams, including the city's community safety officers, and then other social services. So the table focuses on serving those who are vulnerable and meet the criteria of acutely elevated risk. Partners may refer an individual or family who meets the threshold of a combination of risk factors, where they are also a significant probability of harm occurring and occurring soon, and requiring that multidisciplinary approach. So the table works collaboratively to reduce the risk factors and may increase the likelihood that someone will be victimized or involved in a criminal offense. So between the first meeting that took place here in Nanaimo on January 31st, 2023 and December 31st of last year, 2025, the table has received 99 referrals. 28 were in 2003, 31 in 2004, and 40 just last year. Of the 40 received last year, 21 were females and 19 were males. And we have been noticing an increase in the number of male referrals over the last 3 years. The most common single age range has been 30 to 39, representing 9 referrals last year. But when looking at the combination of categories under the age of 24, we've had 11 referrals. And this has created quite a lot of discussion around gaps in services for youth and how we can do better at intervening to prevent substance use with youth earlier on. So the top 3 risk factors that were identified last year included 85% of referrals not having access to appropriate housing, and this is the highest percentage we've seen in that category over the last 3 years. 47.5% were using substances, and 35% were unable to meet their basic needs, and both of which of these percentages were a slight decrease from 2024. Of the 40 referrals, again, 22 cases were closed after being connected to services and supports, personal supports, that reduced their overall level of risk. And that does compare to 60% from 2023 and 74.1 in 2024. So we haven't been as successful last year and compared to the first 2 years, seeing just more complex cases coming to the table. 9 of the referrals last year declined services that were offered. 3 were informed of available services but hadn't been connected quite yet. And then the 5 remaining had relocated to other communities. Some of the continuing successes that we've experienced at the table is the information sharing and collaboration among service providers that takes place both during and in between meetings. And this really does help to support those who are vulnerable in our communities. And the table also provides a supportive environment for sharing best practices and resources when serving individuals in a community, especially those who have those high complexity of needs. So I think it's safe to say that one of the biggest challenges that we faced in 2025 has been the increasing demand for services, and this has really intensified the pressure that organizations are feeling with their resources and with their frontline capacity. This has led to high staff turnover and organizational restructuring within many partnering agencies. This has significantly impacted the participation and the representation at our table. So to avoid these gaps in services, we offer training for new members on a quarterly basis, and each member is required to participate in an online course through Wilfrid Laurier University. That takes about 2 hours to complete, and then we do an in-person mock scenario with the whole group of people who have done the training together so that they can kind of solidify that learning, and that's hosted by ourselves as co-chairs. So this process resulted in 37 new people being trained last year, and we really are looking forward to continuing this process to help cover training fees and other table expenses. City staff have been advised by the Ministry of Public Safety and Solicitor General that there is a one-time supplemental grant available for up to $30,000, and these funds are available to carry over year to year until they're fully utilized. So the grant application does require a letter of support by the city, so staff have included this request through the following recommendation for council's consideration. Thank you very much. We're here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Councillor Hemmons, please.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you to staff for all of your work on this. I'm happy to support a letter of support. A couple of questions, though. Your youth numbers, were they included in the total number of people supported? So you said this year, I believe, 41 people were supported, but there were 12 youth. Are the 12 on top of the 41?
No,
they're embedded in. That's interesting given the presentation previously from the Nanaimo Foundation talking about at-risk youth and where we can catch them ahead of them falling through the cracks of the system. I had a question about what happens after referral. Your slide that referred to 55% uptake and connection to services, am I correct in then thinking that we have a 55% success rate of connecting those who come through the situation table? Is that accurate?
Do you want to answer or do you want me to?
It's difficult to gauge the level of success on the cases that get referred to the situation table. So in many cases, we're able to close the case when the situation table sits, because we're able to link in services straight away. But sometimes the people in acute risk are not in a position to get themselves out of their current position they're in, and they will decline services. So they may have to be referred to the table on several occasions before they're in a position themselves to take advantage of the services that are offered to them.
Right, thank you for that. Final question, what is the interface between the acute response table and the by name list? Is there interface?
No, not directly. So we do have some similar members. One in particular is a housing navigator with Nanaimo Family Life, so she is there and she's definitely at that table. Yeah, she's excellent and very active on connecting the two, but we don't have a direct interface with them.
Okay, thank you. I'm just noting, 37 providers at that table. We have other tables with numerous providers all doing similar work, and I'm just curious how you all work together. So thank you for your presentation. I'll move the recommendation if there's no one else.
Seconded, Councillor Manley. Any questions? Any discussion? Not seeing any, pretty obvious. All those in favor? And any opposed? None, motion carries.
Thank you.
Total victory. Thank you
very
very
much.
much for coming tonight, both of you, much appreciated. The next is item C, as B's been removed, 2026 Active Transportation Unallocated Phase 1 Initiatives. Mr. Sims, Mr. Rose, good evening, welcome.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just briefly before Mr. Rose launches into his presentation, I'd just like to extend my apologies to Council for a gap in this report. Council's motion asked for a report on our consultations with emergency services to be brought back with these reports, and we neglected to do that. And for that, I apologize, and we've certainly got a little process in place now to not make that mistake again. So my apologies, Worship.
Thank you very much. Mr. Rose, please.
Good evening, Your Worship and Council.
Opposed to launching, maybe take us for a spin.
My presentation is quite lean. It's attachment B, I believe, the mapping of the area. And so what we're discussing tonight is an opportunity to provide some funding to address some road safety concerns around the Hammond Bay and Brickyard area. This is sort of a long-going conversation with regard to speeding on Hammond Bay Road and pedestrian safety in the sort of vicinities of Rutherford Elementary, McGurr, Dover, and even Branderson to some degree. We have a utilities project that's underway as we speak. They're kind of on winter break, but they are in construction. And so with that, this has sort of heightened the awareness of the traffic situation on Hammond Bay and how it relates to the schools. And it's also created an opportunity for us to dovetail a quick add-on, potentially, that would enable us to roll forward with some road safety improvements by way of a roundabout at Brickyard Road. The sort of core of this is actually the crosswalk at Kenwell, but and when we dug into it, we noticed that there's actually quite a few collisions, or there's collisions at Brickyard as well, and a lot of concerns with respect to how wide the crossing is. And so the option we've brought forward here, the roundabout, doesn't create benefit at Kenwell, but what it does is it creates lower speeds on the corridor and shorter crossing opportunities for all the pedestrians. And so we've pulled together some numbers and believe that there's some very significant benefits to doing this. And with the situation with the contractor in place right now, there is an opportunity to potentially negotiate this into the existing contract. And so if Council supports this request for funding, then that's something we can pursue and try and incorporate into that if possible. Sorry, slightly overshadowed is the second item of additional funds for town site and Hawley crosswalk improvement, which was part of a council supported project a couple of years ago. There was some delay in moving that forward, and unfortunately that has coincided with the sort of ongoing cost escalation that we're seeing. And so we have been able to move around some internal funds to bridge part of the gap, but do need an additional $50,000 to finish that project. So I'm happy to elaborate or take any questions on that if anybody has any.
Thank you very much. Councillor Armstrong, please.
I actually would like to defer this to the Public Safety Committee meeting next week. And one of the rationales for it, well, actually there's a couple. The Neighborhood Association, we saw the letter come in from them. This isn't one of their priority projects and they're concerned about it. My neighborhood feels the same way, and we would like to get some more discussion on it. We've done this for other projects where we've gone to the neighborhood associations, yet we didn't on this one. And we'd be able to get it done, I think, in time so that it could go back where it wouldn't impact operations.
The motion's been seconded to defer by Councillor Hemmons. Councillor Armstrong, you want to say anything further?
No, I just think this is one of the things that the Public Safety Committee was drafted for to look at, and I think it'd be important to go to there and look. And also, my other big concern is that it's not a priority for either neighborhood association in the area. They've identified other areas which they see to be bigger priorities.
Thank you. Councillor Prino?
Thank you, Your Worship. In discussion about deferral, I'm just wondering, Mr. Rose, you spoke about the contractor being on site now. If this is deferred until after the meeting and discussion with the neighborhood, the community group, it's next week, does that give the contractor time, should it? Because you'd have to come back to the meeting, I think, on the 21st and have it looked at again. Does that give it time to be able to go forward, should that be the preferred route?
Through the Mayor, it certainly would make it more challenging. The contractor is planning to re-engage and get back into construction works fairly soon, and they do have some fairly key time frames that they're trying to work with to minimize impact to the community. So it's not impossible, but the more time we can get with assurance that the funding's available, the more preferable it would be. But
Yes. Well, I certainly, I admit that the idea of deferral in this case is a good one, and I want to support it. However, I want to take advantage of the contractor being there, and I do know this area quite well. I pass it almost daily, and it's fast. The traffic is very fast. There's no doubt about it. So, thank you.
Mr. Sims, before I go to Councillor Hemmons.
Thanks, Your Worship. Just really briefly, the second item of the two that are recommended has been the subject of much back and forth between the city staff and the Island Corridor Foundation or Southern Rail, just due to its proximity to the rail. And I'm not sure that there would be much that we could do as far as changing the design should community members come forward with that.
I'm sure that Councillor Armstrong is going to tell me the way I heard her motion was to defer the roundabout only and not. Is that what Councillor Hemmons understood as well?
Yes.
Yes, I think we all understood that. Any Councillor Hemmons on this, on the deferral, and then Councillor Kesselbrook?
Thank you, Your Worship. I will support deferral. I recognize that we have a bit of a time press with the contractor on site, but this is $400,000, and I feel like if we knew this was going to be a crunch, we could have made this decision ahead of, because that road work has been going on for some time. So I don't feel pressure to make the decision. I agree with Councillor Armstrong that this would be an interesting conversation at the Public Safety Committee, so I'm happy to send it there, hearing from staff that the window narrows, gets tighter and trickier, but it's possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kesselbrook.
Thanks. Just in the report, it's a pretty big change to Hammond Bay, and the talk about engagement sort of with the community on this. Would that happen, as this goes forward, even after we deferred and talked to the Community Safety Committee? Will there be more discussion and analysis in this area? Because I know there's been a lot of demands for changes there in Brickyard, but yeah, whether this intervention kind of meets the needs of people.
Through your worship, it was not envisioned to have a broad spectrum consultation. We have spoken with the immediately adjacent property owner already, and that we've had conversations with them. They had some concerns. We talked them through. But I think under the conditions and fully acknowledging that this is a late game change, it's kind of hard to incorporate anything beyond that. So it wouldn't really be feasible.
Okay, great. I support the deferral. I think a week, to send it to the public safety, and I'm sure there'll be garner some interest in the public on this, and just sort of, hear if there's any things that we haven't thought of yet. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Worship. Through you to staff. I'm just curious on why like a roundabout is being considered for this location. I'd like a little more details on that.
Through your worship. So the sort of thematic concerns we have along this corridor really come back to speed consistently. And so, we've included a brief piece about a possible option of just creating enhancements at the existing crosswalk. We did consider possibly a more controlled signal at the intersection, but none of those actually bring any sort of speed mitigation with them. And so, it's not just this section of Hammond Bay, it's consistently along Hammond Bay that it's just uninterrupted flow. And so if we can bring speeds down, that's a significant safety improvement. So that's why we felt this is the most ideal option here.
Okay, and then a follow-up, if I may. Do we have data from the other roundabouts? If, like, I understand there would be deacceleration as you approach the roundabout because you have to make those turns, but are those roundabouts resulting, my experience with the roundabout, especially at the top of Rutherford Hill, was, yes, that deacceleration happened, but then intense acceleration happened immediately afterwards, and I'm just curious if we're seeing the desired impacts for a safer street with the roundabout implementation.
Through your worship, we do not have any explicit data to that effect. I would be a little bit cautious about using the Rutherford roundabout as a yardstick for others. I think that that's a corridor that on the departures of all the legs enable speed. They're quite wide, they're very open. And so I think, to your point, there needs to be consistent application of some sort of right-of-way control or speed mitigation, whether it's narrowing of the road or whether it's a roundabout or something of that nature. And so I think that I would maybe point to this being the first step in that process. The other thing is that this is bookended on either side by signals. And so while signals do not introduce any sort of speed management, the fact that they will be cycling naturally makes it less predictable for a driver to be able to accelerate hard out of it. And so it can't be a one and done, but it's certainly a big step forward in bringing speeds down.
Okay, well, final question, Your Worship. So just for clarity and my sake, this would be a different design than the Rutherford?
Considerably, yes. It would be much more like the one at Mary Ellen.
Okay, yeah, thanks very much for that.
Thank you. Councillor Armstrong?
Yeah, I just have one more question along that. Do we have the data to support the speeding because I couldn't see any in the report?
We do. Actually, I'm not entirely sure why, but we actually have data capture almost every second block along here, and it's consistently, I think it was, 63 was the majority speed at this particular location.
Sorry, that's not huge speeding for me, but thank you.
For what it's worth, I'm not going to support deferral. I think this is an opportunity, so to speak, that's cropped up. I'm satisfied with the material that staff have provided, that this would be a wise use of it. I think all of us are very conscious of the speeding that's taking place on Hammond Bay Road. That is a very busy area. The clinic, et cetera, there, all of those things, the way people use the road to Hammond Bay coming onto it from Brickyard. So for what it's worth, I won't support deferral. The motion is deferral. All those in favor of deferral, Councillors Armstrong, Gesselbrock, Hemmens, Perino, and Eastmere, and those opposed, Mayor Krogh, Councillor Brown, Councillor Manley. Motion to defer carries. Thank you very much. Appreciate this. The next is item D, 2025-2029 Financial Plan Amendment Bylaw. Well, actually, no, we have to deal with, yes, we've got to deal with the crosswalk at town site. The motion is we allocate 50,000 towards the crosswalk improvements at town site. So moved. Thank you, Councillor Gesselbrock. You are quick tonight, aren't you? Seconded, Councillor Armstrong. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you. Whoa. Now on to the 2025-2029 Financial Plan Amendment Bylaw. Ms. Mercer, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. So throughout the year, items come up that were not originally included in the financial plan that was adopted before May 15th. So no amendments have been made to the 2025 to 2029 financial plan bylaw since it was adopted on May 12th of 2025. So the purpose of this report is to provide council with information regarding the changes to the budget between May 13th and December 31st, 2025. Most of the changes council has seen in reports, and the remaining are mostly due to grants that have been received. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. I'm not seeing any questions. Councillor Manley, please. You have to.
I move that the financial plan amendment bylaw 2026, number 7389.02, to amend the 2025-2029 financial plan pass first reading.
Seconded, Councillor Perino. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Councillor Manley.
I move that financial plan amendment bylaw 2026, number 7389.02, pass second reading.
Seconded, Councillor Hemmons. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. Motion carries.
And I move that financial plan amendment bylaw 2026, number 7389.02, pass third reading.
Seconded, Councillor Perino. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you. The next is business license amendment bylaw 2026, number 7318.03. Mr. Holm, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good evening to you and council. Just a really brief introduction on this one. This is an item that staff received direction on at council's meeting of December 15th. To look at, to bring forward some business bylaw amendments to streamline the business licensing process, the program related to mobile food vending, and to improve both the regulatory and operational aspects of that to be more nimble and provide opportunity to manage the impacts of the industry and allow for industry growth in a more nimble fashion. And so that's the first item is to be considered tonight is business bylaw amendment recommendations provided in the report, and council in its meeting on December 15th also directed staff to initiate a review of food vending fees, fines, and additional charges, including park user fee review, and bring forward the results for council's consideration at a future meeting. That will be subsequent sort of phase 2 to this project. Happy to take any questions on the business license bylaw amendments. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Manley.
I move the business license amendment bylaw 2026, number 7318.03, to introduce amendments to update sections pertaining to the mobile food vending regulations and processes, and other housekeeping amendments pass first reading.
Seconded, Councillor Perino. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. Motion carries.
I move the business license amendment bylaw 2026, number 7318.03, pass second reading.
Seconded, Councillor Armstrong. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. Motion carries.
And I move the business license amendment bylaw 2026, number 7318.03, pass third reading.
Seconded, Councillor Hemmons. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. Motion carries. On to F, proposed license disposal, TELUS Communications Facilities, 1151 Nanaimo Lakes Road. Ms. Mercer, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. So staff are looking to enter into a license of use agreement for a TELUS-owned 63-meter self-supported tower on city-owned property at 1151 Nanaimo Lakes Road. The term is for 10 years with an option of 2 10-year renewals. So that'd be a total of 30 years if both renewals were taken. And it has a $17,500 annual rent payment that will come to the city. And Ms. Skills is here to answer any questions that you have regarding this lease.
Thank you. Councillor Manley? Motion? Thank you very much. We have a seconder in Councillor Hemmons. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you. The next is G, proposed license disposal TELUS Communications Facilities, Turner Road and Island Highway North. Ms. Mercer,
Yep.
once more.
So, again, staff are looking to enter into that license to use agreement with TELUS for 2 TELUS-owned 15-meter tall telecommunications streetlight antenna poles that will be located on city right-of-way on the east side of Turner Road and the Island Highway North intersection. The term is for 4 years with the option of 3 5-year renewals for a total of 20 years, with total of $14,000 in annual rent payments. So Ms. Gills is here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Not seeing any questions. Councillor Hemmons moves the recommended motion. Councillor Armstrong seconds. All those in favor? And any opposed? None. Motion carries. We're on to 13, development reports, telecommunications facility, 1151 Nanaimo Lakes Road. There is a recommended motion. Moved Councillor Manley, seconded Councillor Perino. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. Motion carries. On to B, proposed telecommunications facilities, Turner Road and Island Highway. There is a recommended motion. Moved Councillor Armstrong, seconded Councillor Hemmons. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. Motion carries. On to development variance permit application number DVP 490-4834 Shorecliff Point. This one we don't get a report, as I recall, right? And so we do have a delegation, and it's Robert Ree or Ray, R-E-E-Y. My apologies. Sorry? He just stepped out for a minute. Can you get him? He was going to decline anyways and just thank the department. Just thank, well, we appreciate a thank you here at City Hall. Move the recommendation, Councillor Armstrong, seconded Councillor Hemmons. All those in favor? Any opposed? None.
Mayor Krog.
Oh, sorry?
My apologies for interruption, but this is an
Yes, I have
item.
to ask if there's anyone else.
Yes, thank
Is there
you.
anyone else wishing to speak with respect to development variance permit application number DVP 490-4834 Shorecliff Point? Not seeing any. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed this evening. We much appreciate your attendance. The fine-looking young fellow next to you announced that you were grateful, so too much gratitude, it'll spoil us tonight. Thank you very much. Item E, liquor license application number LA 165-Unit 2, 4286 Departure Bay Road. Move the recommended motion, Councillor Reno, seconded Councillor Manley. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Then we have housing agreement number HA 16-355 Nickel Street. Councillor Manley.
I move that the Housing Amendment Bylaw 2026, number 7428, secure terms and conditions of occupancy for a 35-unit supportive housing building at 355 Nickel Street pass first reading.
Seconded Councillor Perino. All those in favor? Any opposed? None.
I move that housing agreement.
Sorry, Ms. Vicar. Councillor Manley doesn't have to read it all out. He can just say pass second reading, right?
Thank you, Your Worship. Actually, I just wanted to make sure that we did use the correct name of the bylaw, housing agreement bylaw. I may have heard housing amendment bylaw, so I just wanted to clarify that for public's information and for the record.
Did I say amendment? I thought I said agreement. Okay,
The acoustics in the room are not the best, so my apologies if I misheard.
Okay. I move that Housing Agreement Bylaw 2026, number 7428, pass first reading.
What, second reading?
Second reading.
Second reading. Seconded
I'm just
Councillor
making sure my
Armstrong.
first time was good enough.
Seconded by Councillor Armstrong. All those in favor? And any opposed? None. Motion carries.
And I move that the Housing Agreement Bylaw pass third reading.
Seconded Councillor Hemmons. All those in favor? Opposed? None. Motion carries. And finally,
And I move that council direct staff to secure a Land Title Act Section 219 covenant to reinforce the terms of the housing agreement following adoption of the bylaw.
seconded Councillor Perino. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. Motion carries. We're on to bylaws. I'll let you declare your conflict, Councillor Manley, and absent yourself for both Housing Agreement Bylaw 2026, number 7437, and Housing Agreement Bylaw 2026, number 7446.
Yes, I have a conflict because I've done work with NACL, which is one of these bylaws. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll give you a moment to absent yourself, and we'll toss the torch to Councillor Armstrong.
As soon as he's gone, I'll read it. That Housing Bylaw Agreement 2026, number 7437 be adopted.
Seconded, Councillor Hemmens. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. Motion carries.
That Housing Agreement Bylaw 2026, number 7446 be adopted.
Seconded, Councillor Hemmens. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. Motion carries. We'll let Councillor Manley back in. The next item is the correspondence, Chase River Community Association request for a letter of support grant application of Canadian Heritage Building Communities through Arts and Heritage Fund. And the exact wording of the motion should be, Ms. Vicar, where are we here?
Your Worship, we do not provide preemptively the wording for these instances, but something along the lines of that council authorize Your Worship
Report
to.
be signed by the mayor and
So moved.
Yes.
staff of council, moved by Councillor Armstrong, seconded by Councillor Hemmens. All those in favor, any opposed, none, motion carries. We have no notices of motion. There is no other business, to my knowledge, question period, Ms. Vicar. I suspect there's none. Motion to adjourn, Councillor Perino, seconded Councillor Hemmens. All those in favor, any opposed, none, motion carries. Thank you very much, everyone.